Bucknell, it's great to be here. I always love being home. I think I call this home because I probably spent way more time in this place. I grew up in Uganda, that's where I'm from, and at a very young age, I came from where I lived in the southern part of Uganda and moved to the capital city, Kampala. And I was fortunate because at an age of 6 years old, the first thing that's always on your mind is my belly full, right? I'm sure you can identify with that. So I was fortunate because this is what I always saw every day after school. The marketplace. It was the best thing ever. The fruits are amazing. My aunt owned one of those kiosks in Uganda, and every day after school I worked at one of those. I convinced people to buy tomatoes and onions to make the best meals they can at home. That taught me and introduced me to people who are involved in entrepreneurship of all ages. Whenever we ran out of things to sell, I would go to the market and buy the new fresh batch of whatever we had run out of. And how can you not give a price to a cute little face? If you can imagine me younger, I think I was cuter then. I would get the best deals, and from there I met people of all walks of life. This is where you usually go in Kampala to get better prices. This is where you get the produce in large quantities, and you go to where we had a kiosk that you sell people the same goods but at a slightly higher price. So the economics, you don't have to go to school. You know there is demand, there is supply. Low prices, high prices. Move goods from where they are at a low price, sell them to where they are high price. Simple. So with that, I was introduced to a lot of people like I mentioned, and all those kinds of entrepreneurs, I could see the challenges they faced. I had to walk with the goods on my head, and I could identify with one of our participants in Bicycles Against Poverty, a non-profit. I began more of a social enterprise that helps people afford bicycles because we understand the challenges of transportations to low entrepreneurs. So this is Akena, one of our Bicycles Against Poverty participants. He, without a bicycle, could not take his produce to the market. He could carry only as much as he can carry. And with a bicycle, he currently owns his own salon where he cuts people's hair. He is able to charge people's cell phones and make money that way as well, all because a bicycle gave him a way. Now you might be like, a bicycle making such a big difference? Yeah, it does make such a big difference. You see, entrepreneurs don't have the biggest challenges that you and I imagine. They do, but at the same time, they are solved with the most simple innovation, creativity that you can come up with. A bicycle is that kind of simple tool that literally changes, that literally transforms the issue of transportation and makes it easy. Where I grew up, my aunt's kiosk fed all of us. You can imagine hungry kids being fed because someone owns a kiosk. So you can make a lot of money out of this, and those are the kinds of entrepreneurs that we see. For every story of a male that I tell, there are hundreds of females changing their families because they work hard and they take advantage of the simple things you and I take for granted. Regina Ochan, for example, 63-year-old lady, has kids to take care of, is one of the people that wanted a bicycle. You see, there's multiple stories, but our organization can only meet a certain amount. So she's part of our pre-saving program where we weed out people. We want people who are serious, because changing poverty is serious business. You would agree, I'm sure. So she's old. She works hours and hours to the market to do the same business model I mentioned. Buy where it's cheap, sell where it's high. So when you ask me about entrepreneurs in Uganda, I'll probably laugh about it, because people always ask me, are there some entrepreneurs in Uganda? And I'm like, how do you define an entrepreneur? Literally everyone in Uganda is trying to earn a living, and that equals entrepreneur. That means they want to do business, they want to make profit, and they want to see their family survive. So if you send me an email like this one, my response is probably going to be the same response. There's way too many, so be specific, because the moment you step into Uganda, you'll be met with people who are hungry to develop, hungry to grow businesses. Behind entrepreneurship lies creativity and innovation. Wherever there is entrepreneurship, innovation and creativity is not too far behind. And whether you grew up playing with Legos, whether you grew up using some sophisticated kind of playing tools, kids in Africa, kids in Uganda are proving that creativity is just as in Uganda as it is here. It's not about the materials you have, it's about making use of the few things you have. Growing up, and many people would, from the same area I come from, will tell you about these soccer balls that we make, right? You want to play, you're a kid, and you can't afford a soccer ball, so you make it. That's the way it is where I come from. And it echoes throughout. Even in the US, I see that. So creativity for us begins at such a young age, because there are needs and you have to meet them. Because that's the way life is, right? You can't just hang out and just let the world pass you by. You have to use the resources you have to survive. Kids are engaging in electronics at a very young age. This is one of the participants in the competition for creative thinking and innovation. And he built his own FM radio because he didn't have one and he wanted one. That's how it's done. Girls are making ripples all over because they know they want to see a better Uganda, a better Kenya. These are girls from Kenya, basically trying to make sure that the kerosene that they buy is more efficient. It produces more energy for them. And so they've designed this pump where it provides more oxygen so that you get more out of the kerosene that you buy. This is all over Africa. In Uganda, people are thinking. This is the beauty of having countries like the US that have gone through certain steps, and countries like ours can look and see what steps these countries have taken and either follow the same step or change it to make sure that it meets their own communities. So people are designing mobile apps. People are making money off mobile apps. So the businesses in Uganda are businesses you can invest in. Are businesses that if you are a shark in the US, you should invest in. And you don't have to have $1 million. You can have a few dollars to invest in, because that's what it will take. Believing and knowing, not even just believing, but knowing that the market is there, the innovation is there, and people are making it happen. So what's the way forward? We want to move to a level where it's all about made in Africa. Made in Africa, made in Uganda, made in Tanzania, made in Kenya. Because we have the resources, we have the brilliant minds. It's not a question anymore of whether we have it or not, because we all know and we have proved that it's there. Kids are eager I get overwhelmed when I go home because everyone wants to change their community. But the challenge is resources. The resources are scarce. The resources are hard to come by. And let's be blunt for a little bit. By resources, I mean funding, right? You need research. You see, we have made progress in a lot of areas. But the only challenge, the biggest challenge I see is as we follow the same trends, as we see other countries develop, using mobile phones and things like that, our minds are being limited in a way because we have seen what works. And so we are comfortable following in the same footsteps. But I think what we need in Africa, in Uganda, is the freedom to explore, is the freedom to enjoy exploring. And that comes at a cost. And if you are in a family where your freedom is going to cost your family members something, where you following your dreams is tough because you're going to be seeing people starving, it can take a toll on you. But I know it can be done. And that lies in us, in all of us, to make sure that we give the resources so people have the freedom to explore, so people have the freedom to imagine, so people have the freedom to enjoy learning. Because it's only then that you can truly change, design, implement with creativity, with love for what you do. Because I've never seen anyone succeed to the best of their abilities not enjoying or loving what they do. And for us, for Uganda, for Africa in general, it takes resources. And that's where we come in. And I hope you join me and plenty of other organizations doing this kind of work in Uganda. Thank you very much.